Hey everyone! Before we get to the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from and your thoughts on the story in the comments. Your thoughts and support are extremely important to us. My name is Anthony Reed. I work as a firefighter for the Chicago Fire Department, near North Side Division. I've been doing this job for over 12 years, and believe me, it's not easy. I'm the third generation in my family to continue this work. My grandfather, Thomas Reed, sadly lost his life in a warehouse fire in 1995. Exactly 1 year after that incident, my father, David Reed, left the firefighting profession and never told me why. He now lives in a suburb on the west side of the city, but he never talks about his old job. In fact, he hardly ever comes into the city anymore. Until October 8th, 2024, I thought I knew what caused the fire. I thought I knew what we were fighting every time we responded to a call. Flames, smoke, heat, chemical reactions, oxygen, ignition, fuel. The fire triangle they teach in the academy. I was wrong about everything. Fire isn't just combustion. Fire is memory. Fire is consciousness. And underneath Chicago, there's been a fire burning since October 8th, 1871. 153 years. And it's not just burning, it's waiting. Let me start with October 8th, 2024. The anniversary. We didn't think anything of it at first. I mean, every year on October 8th, there's some ceremony downtown, some historical society event commemorating the Great Chicago Fire. Tourists take photos of the old water tower, the only building that survived. School kids learn about Mrs. O'Leary's cow, the usual. But those of us in the CFD, we know October 8th is always a busy night. Not because of arson or anything obvious, just because fires happen. More fires than any other night of the year. Every year. Like clockwork. We joke about it. Call it the O'Leary effect. But nobody really questions it. This year was different. The call came in at 9:47 p.m. Warehouse fire, 1200 West Grand Avenue. Old meatpacking district. The building had been abandoned since the 90s, scheduled for demolition to make room for luxury condos. Standard urban decay fire. Probably squatters, maybe some kids messing around. I was riding with my crew, Lieutenant Jennifer White driving, Tommy Kowalski and Ray Martinez in the back with me. We've worked together for 6 years. Good crew. Tommy's the veteran, 22 years on the job. Ray's younger, only 4 years in, but solid. Jennifer's been a lieutenant for 3 years, and she's the best officer I've ever worked under. The smoke was visible from 3 blocks away. Thick, black, rolling up into the October sky. But as we got closer, I heard something. Singing. High-pitched, multiple voices, harmonizing in a way that made my teeth ache. I looked at Tommy. He was checking his gear, didn't seem to notice. I looked at Ray. Nothing. Jennifer was focused on driving. "You hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" Tommy said. "The singing, Reed, there's no singing. That's just the sirens." But it wasn't the sirens. The sirens are mechanical, predictable. This was organic. Human voices. Maybe dozens of them, all singing in perfect unison. And the language wasn't English. It sounded German. Old German, the kind my great-grandmother spoke before she forgot English in her final years at the nursing home. We pulled up to the warehouse. Flames were coming through the second-floor windows. Standard 2-alarm fire, nothing we hadn't seen 1,000 times. We geared up, masks on, air tanks checked. Jennifer coordinated with the other companies while our crew prepared to make entry. But I couldn't stop hearing the singing. It was getting louder, and now I could make out words. Brennen, Awig Brennen, wir brennen alle, burning, forever burning. We all burn. I know some German. My great-grandmother taught me when I was a kid. Enough to recognize what I was hearing. But Tommy was right next to me and he heard nothing. He was checking the thermal camera, calling out hot spots, completely oblivious to the voices. We made entry through the loading dock. The heat hit us immediately. Even through the gear, I could feel it. 700 degrees easy, probably more near the seat of the fire. The smoke was thick enough that our flashlights barely penetrated 3 feet. We moved in pairs, Tommy and Ray checking the ground floor, me and Jennifer heading for the stairs to the 2nd floor. The singing got louder. "Anthony, you good?" Jennifer asked through the radio. "Your breathing sounds off." "I'm fine," I lied. We reached the stairs. They were metal, still structurally sound, but glowing red from the heat. Jennifer went first, thermal camera in one hand, hose line in the other. I followed, watching for floor collapse, for sudden flashovers, for all the normal things that kill firefighters. The singing was so loud now I could barely hear my own breathing in the mask. At the top of the stairs, Jennifer stopped. "Anthony, I'm getting weird readings on thermal." "Weird how?" "There's a hot spot in the northeast corner. Really hot. But it's not spreading. Fire doesn't do that. Fire spreads. This is just sitting there burning in place." We moved toward it. The smoke was clearer on the 2nd floor, which was wrong. Smoke rises. It should have been worse up here. But I could see almost clearly, like the smoke was avoiding this area. And then I saw him. A man, sitting against the wall in the corner, fully engulfed in flames. But he wasn't moving like someone on fire moves. He wasn't thrashing, wasn't trying to escape. He was just sitting there, burning, and he was singing. "Jennifer, we got a victim!" I shouted. She spun around, saw him, immediately grabbed the hose line. "I've got him. Get ready to extract." She hit him with water. The flames didn't go out. They didn't even dim. The water just seemed to pass through them, evaporating before it made contact. "What the hell?" Jennifer tried again. Same result. "Anthony, this isn't working." I moved closer. I know I shouldn't have. Every instinct, every hour of training said stay back, reassess, don't approach an active fire victim until suppression is confirmed. But I couldn't stop myself. Because the man wasn't screaming. He was singing. And I recognized the song. It was a German hymn. Ein feste Burg ist unser Gott. A mighty fortress is our God. The same hymn my great-grandmother sang at church. I got within 5 feet of him before Jennifer grabbed my coat and pulled me back. "Anthony, what are you doing? We need to retreat and reassess." But I saw his face. Through the flames, I saw his face. His eyes were open. He was looking at me. And he was smiling. Then he spoke. His lips moved and words came out, clear as day, in perfect English, even though he should have been dead, even though his lungs should have been cooked, even though it was physically impossible for him to make sound. "You can hear us, can't you?" Finally. Finally, someone can hear us. We've been singing for so long. We thought everyone had forgotten. "Who are you?" I asked. Jennifer grabbed my arm harder. "Anthony, who are you talking to? Can't you see him?" I pointed. "Right there. He's on fire, but he's not dying. Anthony, there's nobody there. It's just an active fire in the corner. We need to suppress and search, now." I looked at Jennifer, then back at the corner. She was right. From her perspective, there was just fire. No man, no victim, just flames burning in a way they shouldn't. Confined to one spot, not spreading. But I could see him, and he could see me. "Tell Thomas we remember him," the burning man said. "Tell Thomas that the shift never ends. Tell him we're waiting." "Thomas?" I said. "Thomas Reed? That's my grandfather." The man smiled wider. "Then you're next. You're the 3rd generation, the 3rd keeper. Your grandfather understands now. Your father ran. But you came to us. You heard the singing. That means you're ready. Ready for what? To burn forever. Jennifer physically dragged me back toward the stairs. Lieutenant White, to all units, we have a situation on floor 2. Firefighter Reed is experiencing possible carbon monoxide exposure. We're evacuating now. I'm not, I shouted. I'm fine. There's a man in there. Tommy and Ray met us at the ground floor. Tommy took one look at me and nodded to Jennifer. They practically carried me out of the building. I was yelling, fighting them, trying to explain what I'd seen, but they weren't listening. Outside, they sat me down, pulled off my mask, started checking my air levels. Everything was normal. My tank still had 20 minutes. No CO exposure. No oxygen deprivation. But they were looking at me like I'd lost my mind. Reed, Jennifer said carefully. There was no one in that building. We checked thermal. We checked visual. It was just fire. No victims. No one to rescue. I saw him, I insisted. He was burning but not dying. He knew my grandfather's name. He said, "My grandfather understands now." Tommy and Ray exchanged a look I couldn't read. Jennifer was about to say something when the radio crackled. Engine 18, be advised, building collapse imminent. All personnel evacuate to safe distance. We backed up 200 feet and watched the warehouse burn. It took 4 hours and 3 alarms to get it under control. When the sun came up and we finally cleared the scene, the fire inspector wanted to talk to me. "Officer Reed, I'm Inspector Wallace. I need to ask you some questions about what you saw inside." I told him everything. The singing, the man made of fire, the way water didn't work, the message about my grandfather. He listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, he closed his notebook. "Officer Reed, I need you to understand something. This building, 1200 West Grand, it's built on top of the old Chicago tunnel system, the freight tunnels from the 1800s. And before that, there was a boarding house here, a German boarding house. It burned down on October 8, 1871. 17 people died. The Great Chicago Fire," I said. Wallace nodded. "The fire started in the O'Leary barn, but it spread. It burned for 3 days. Killed 300 people officially, but the real number was probably higher. A lot of German and Irish immigrants, unregistered, living in boarding houses like the one that stood here. When this area burned, a lot of people just disappeared. No records, no graves. So I was hallucinating?" I asked. "Carbon monoxide?" Wallace looked at me for a long moment. "Officer Reed, you're the third firefighter in the last 30 years to report seeing someone burning in this location. Your grandfather reported the same thing in 1995. That's why he was here. That's how he died. He went back into the building because he saw someone who needed rescue. Someone no one else could see." My blood went cold. My grandfather died in a warehouse fire on West Grand. This building? This exact building. And your father was with him that night. Your father saw him go back in. Your father tried to stop him. But your grandfather wouldn't listen. He said he could hear them singing. He said they needed help. "The singing," I said, "German hymns. I heard them tonight." Wallace opened his notebook again. "Your father quit the department the next day. Never spoke about it, never came to the memorial. When we tried to interview him, he refused. Just said some fires can't be put out, and some people can't be saved, and he wasn't going to watch his son make the same mistake." "But my father never told me any of this," I said. "He never warned me. Would you have listened? Would you have believed him?" I didn't have an answer for that. Wallace handed me a card. "This isn't official, this isn't going in my report, but you should go see your father. Ask him about the keepers. Ask him about the eternal shift. And Officer Reed, if you start hearing the singing again, Don't go back. Don't investigate. Don't try to help. Because whatever's down there under the city, it's been burning since 1871, and it wants to keep burning forever. I took the card. It was blank except for a phone number. Whose number? Someone who can explain better than I can. His name is Father Dimitri. He's a priest at Holy Trinity Orthodox Cathedral. He's been tracking these incidents for 40 years. He knows more about the Chicago fire than anyone alive. I went home that morning in a daze. Didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the burning man, heard the singing, felt the heat that didn't burn me. At noon, I called my father. He didn't answer. I tried again. Nothing. I tried a third time and he picked up. "Anthony," he said. His voice was shaking. "You went to West Grand last night. How did you know?" "Because I felt it. I've felt it every October 8th for 29 years. I felt him die. I felt him burn. And now I feel you hearing them. Don't do this, son. Don't go back. Don't ask questions. Just quit. Leave the city. Change your name if you have to." "Dad, what are you talking about? The fire didn't end, Anthony. The Great Chicago Fire. It didn't end. They rebuilt over it. They paved over it. But it's still burning. It's been burning under the city for 153 years. And the people who died in it, they're still burning too. They're trapped down there, in the tunnels, in the caverns, in the coal seams that run under the whole damn city, and they're looking for replacements." Replacements. The fire needs fuel, Anthony. It always needs fuel. And human consciousness burns longer than wood or coal. It burns forever. Your grandfather discovered that. He tried to help them. He thought he could put it out, but you can't put out a fire that feeds on souls. I was gripping the phone so hard my hand hurt. "Dad, I saw someone, in the warehouse. He was burning but alive. He said to tell Thomas to tell grandfather that they remember him." My father was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Your grandfather is down there, Anthony. He's been burning for 29 years. He's part of the fire now, part of the collective. They all are. Everyone who died in 1871. Everyone who's died in fires in Chicago since. They're all connected, all burning together, all singing together." "The singing," I said. "German hymns. They're trying to keep their humanity," my father said. "That's what the singing is. If they stop singing, they stop being people. They become just fire, just heat and light and hunger. So they sing, and they wait. And every October 8th, the barrier gets thinner, and they try to bring someone else down. Someone who can hear them, someone like you. I need to see you," I said. "I need to understand. Number, you need to run. But I know you won't. You're like him, like your grandfather. You think you can save them. You think you can help. But Anthony, listen to me. There is no saving them. There is no helping them. There's only burning. And once you understand that, once you really understand it, it'll be too late." He hung up. I sat there in my apartment, looking out at the Chicago skyline. All those buildings, all that concrete and steel and glass, and underneath it all, fire, eternal fire, burning since 1871, burning now, burning forever. I called the number Wallace gave me. Father Dimitri answered on the first ring. "Officer Reed," he said. "I've been expecting your call. You heard the singing, didn't you?" "Yes." "And you saw the burning man?" "Yes." "Then we need to meet, tonight, before the next fire. Because October 8th was just the beginning. The anniversary is a door, Anthony. It opens once a year. And this year, it opened wider than it has in decades. They're coming through. Not all at once, but one fire at a time, one building at a time. And if we don't stop it, by October 12th, the whole city will be burning again, just like 1871. Only this time, it won't stop. Where do we meet? The water tower, he said. The old one, the one that survived. Midnight tonight. And Anthony, bring your gear. We're going into the tunnels. We're going to the source. We're going to show you what your grandfather found. We're going to show you why the fire never died. He hung up before I could respond. I spent the rest of the day researching. I found the old newspaper articles about the Great Chicago Fire. 300 deaths. 3,000 acres burned. 90,000 people left homeless. The fire started on October 8, 1871, at around 9 p.m. It burned until October 10th, when rain finally helped put it out. But the more I read, the more inconsistencies I found. Different accounts gave different numbers, different locations, different causes. Some blamed Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Some blamed spontaneous combustion. Some blamed arson. Nobody really knew how it started, and the death toll kept changing. Official records said 300, but contemporary accounts mentioned thousands missing, entire immigrant neighborhoods gone, bodies never recovered, names never recorded. I found something else too. A note in the Chicago Historical Society archives dated October 1872, 1 year after the fire. It was from a city engineer named Samuel Grant. He was part of the rebuild effort. The note was brief. We have discovered underground fires in the tunnel system, coal seam ignitions. Attempts to extinguish have failed. The decision has been made to seal the affected areas and build over them. The alternative is to tear down half the city. The fires will eventually burn themselves out. This is the only practical solution. But they hadn't burned themselves out. They'd been burning for 153 years. At 11:30 p.m., I grabbed my gear and drove downtown. The water tower stood like a sentinel, illuminated by spotlights, surrounded by tourists even at midnight. It was the symbol of Chicago's survival. The one structure the fire couldn't destroy. Father Dimitri was waiting. He was older than I expected, maybe 70, with white hair and a long white beard. He wore black robes and carried a leather satchel. When he saw me, he nodded. "You look like your grandfather," he said. "Thomas was a good man. He understood what needed to be done. But he couldn't accept the cost." "What cost?" "The fire must be fed," Father Dimitri said, "or it breaks containment." That's the truth no one wants to hear. The Great Chicago Fire wasn't a disaster. It was a release. Something was trapped under this city long before Chicago existed. Something old. Something that the Potawatomi knew about. Something they warned the settlers about. But settlers don't listen to natives. They build, they dig, they disturb things that should stay buried. What did they disturb? Father Dimitri looked up at the water tower. "There's a reason this survived, Anthony. It wasn't luck. It wasn't good construction. It was protected. Because underneath it, directly underneath where we're standing, is the heart, the source, the thing that started burning in 1871 and never stopped." "What is it? Come, I'll show you." He led me around the water tower to a maintenance entrance I'd never noticed before. He had a key. Inside was a staircase leading down. We descended 3 flights into darkness. Father Dimitri had a flashlight. I had my helmet light. At the bottom was a tunnel. Not the modern subway tunnels. This was older. Brick walls, arched ceiling, about 7 feet high. The air smelled like smoke and something else. Something organic. Something wrong. The old freight tunnels, Father Dimitri said, built in the 1850s to move goods under the city. 40 miles of tunnels. Most of them sealed now, but not all. And in the sealed sections, the fire burns. We walked for what felt like miles. The tunnel branched, split, reconnected. Father Dimitri navigated with confidence like he'd done this 1,000 times. Eventually, we reached a junction where 5 tunnels met, and in the center of the junction I saw it. A fire, small, contained, burning in what looked like a metal drum, but the fire was wrong. The flames were blue and white instead of red and orange. And they didn't flicker. They burned steady, like a pilot light. "This is a control fire," Father Dimitri said. "One of 12 spread throughout the tunnel system. They were installed in 1872 by the keepers, the original keepers, the ones who understood what happened in 1871. Who were they? Engineers, priests, firemen, volunteers. People who saw what was really burning. People who knew that if they put out all the fire, if they suppressed it completely, something worse would emerge. So they made a deal. They would keep the fire burning. Controlled, contained, federal. In exchange, the true fire would stay underground, would stay dormant, would sleep. Fed with what? Father Dimitri looked at me. With people, Anthony, with volunteers. The fire needs consciousness to burn, needs human awareness. Without it, it becomes wild, becomes hungry, becomes the thing it was before humans learned to control it. You're saying people volunteer to burn forever? Not forever. 27 years. A generation. That's how long the consciousness can maintain its structure in the flame. After that, it dissolves, becomes part of the collective fire, loses individuality. Your grandfather has 2 years left. Then he'll be gone. Truly gone. I felt sick. So the man I saw, the burning man, he's been burning since. 1997, Father Dimitri said. His name was Richard Torres, CFD firefighter. He volunteered, took your grandfather's place. But we need a new volunteer for the 2024 cycle. We need someone by October 12th. The anniversary window closes then. If we don't have a volunteer, the control fires go out, and the true fire wakes up. And what happens then? Father Dimitri gestured around us. Chicago burns again, really burns this time. Not 3 days, not 3,000 acres. Everything. 6 million people. The fire has been storing energy for 153 years, Anthony. If it's released all at once, nothing stops it. Not water, not chemicals, not rain. It burns until there's nothing left to burn. So you want me to volunteer, I said. That's why you brought me here. You want me to replace Torres. No, Father Dimitri said. I brought you here to give you a choice, because there are 2 paths forward. The first path is the old way, the way of the keepers. Someone volunteers. Someone burns for 27 years. The cycle continues. Chicago stays safe. And the second path? We end it. We extinguish all 12 control fires simultaneously. We let the true fire emerge, and then we try to kill it. Really kill it, permanently. It's never been attempted. It might not be possible. But if it works, Chicago is free. No more volunteers. No more eternal shift. No more singing in the flames. But if it doesn't work, then 6 million people die. Father Dimitri opened his satchel and pulled out a folder. These are the names of everyone who's volunteered since 1872. 73 people, all firefighters, all people who heard the singing, all people like you. He opened the folder. I saw the list, names, dates, duration, and there at the bottom, Thomas Reed, 1995 to 2025, with a note, cycle incomplete, replacement needed. Your grandfather was supposed to burn until 2022, Father Dimitri said. But he got sick in 2020. COVID. Even in the flames, even burning, he got sick. The fire couldn't protect him. He's deteriorating faster than he should. We need his replacement now, 3 years early, or his section of the control fire fails. Which section? West Grand Avenue, the boarding house, the place you were last night. That's his section, that's where he's burning. And if his fire goes out, that's where the breach starts. That's where the true fire comes through. I looked at the folder, at the 73 names, at my grandfather's name, and I understood why my father ran, why he never came back to Chicago, why he warned me not to ask questions. Because once you know, once you really understand what's burning under the city, you can't unknow it. You can't ignore it. You either volunteer to burn, or you watch millions die. I need time, I said. I need to think. You have until October 12th, Father Dimitri said. 4 days. After that, the anniversary window closes. The volunteer cycle resets. And your grandfather's section fails. What happens to him if I don't volunteer? He burns until he's completely consumed, until there's nothing left of Thomas Reed, until he's just part of the collective fire. No identity, no consciousness, just eternal burning without awareness. It's what they call the second death, and it's worse than the first. I need to talk to him, I said. I need to talk to my grandfather. Is that possible? Father Dimitri nodded slowly. Yes. But Anthony, understand that he's not the man you remember. 29 years of burning changes a person. Strips away everything non-essential. What remains is just the core, just the fundamental truth of who they were. And your grandfather's truth is duty. It's always been duty. If you talk to him, he'll tell you to volunteer. He'll tell you it's your responsibility. Your family obligation. The third generation. I don't care, I said. I need to hear it from him. I need to know if he chose this or if he was tricked. No one is tricked, Father Dimitri said sadly. Everyone who volunteers knows exactly what they're agreeing to. They hear the singing. They see the burning. They understand the cost. And they choose duty over life. They choose the city over themselves. Tomorrow night, I said, can you arrange it? Can I talk to him? Tomorrow is October 9th, Father Dimitri said. The second day of the anniversary window. The fires will be stronger, more visible, more vocal. Yes, I can arrange it. But Anthony, be sure this is what you want. Because once you hear him speak, once you understand why he volunteered, it becomes very hard to say no. I'm going to talk to my father first, I said. He needs to tell me the truth, all of it. Father Dimitri handed me the folder. Then take this. Show him. Let him see that his name was supposed to be on this list too. Let him explain why he ran instead of burning. I took the folder and walked back through the tunnels alone. Father Dimitri stayed behind, tending the control fire, keeping watch. When I emerged from under the water tower, the sun was coming up. October 9th, 3 days left. I drove to my father's house. He was awake, like he'd been waiting. When he opened the door and saw the folder in my hands, his face went pale. You know, he said, they told you. I need to hear it from you, Dad. I need to know why Grandpa volunteered, and why you didn't. My father looked at me for a long moment. Then he stepped aside and let me in. Come in, he said. It's time you learned what it means to be a Reed in Chicago. It's time you learned about the fire that never died. My father made coffee. Neither of us drank it. We just sat at his kit white table, the folder between us, the morning light making everything look too normal for what we were about to discuss. Your grandfather didn't volunteer, my father said finally. Not at first. He was chosen. That's what the keepers don't tell you. They make it sound like a choice, like some noble sacrifice. But once you hear the singing, Once you can see the burning people, you're already marked, already halfway to the flames. What do you mean marked? My father opened the folder and pointed to a note I hadn't seen before, handwritten in the margin next to my grandfather's name. Auditory sensitivity confirmed. Visual manifestation threshold reached. Candidate approved. It's genetic, Anthony. The ability to hear them, to see them. It runs in families. My grandfather, your great-grandfather, he worked for the fire department too, back in the 1920s. He heard them, he saw them, but he fought it. Drank himself to death trying to drown out the singing. Your grandfather inherited it. And you inherited it from him. And you? I asked. I heard them once, my father said quietly, the night your grandfather died. We were both in that warehouse on West Grand. The structure was failing. Command ordered us to evacuate. But your grandfather stopped at the stairs. He was staring at the corner where the fire was hottest. And he said, "They need me. They need a replacement. Richard's cycle is ending." Who's Richard? Richard Torres. He was burning in that section. Had been since 1968. 27 years, his time was up. The fire needed a new volunteer or that section would fail. Your grandfather knew it. He'd been a keeper for 5 years by then. He understood the system. Understood the cost. But instead of volunteering himself, my father continued. He looked at me. And he said, "David, if I don't come back out, you have to take my place. It's your duty now." The Reed family has protected Chicago for 3 generations. You're the 4th. I couldn't breathe. That's why you quit. Because you were supposed to volunteer and you refused. My father's hands were shaking. I watched him walk into that corner. Watched him kneel down in the flames like they weren't even hot. Watched him take Richard Torres' place. And Anthony, the thing that broke me, the thing that made me run, was that he was smiling. He was at peace, like he'd finally found his purpose. The structure collapsed 20 minutes later. We recovered his body 3 days later, or what was left of it. But I knew the truth. That body was empty. The real Thomas Reed was still in there, still burning, still singing, still waiting for me to join him. "But you didn't," I said. "I didn't. I quit the department. I moved out of the city. I tried to forget. I tried to pretend I'd never heard the singing. But every October 8th, I hear it again. Every anniversary, I feel him burning, and I know he's disappointed. I know he's waiting. I know I'm a coward." "You're not a coward," I said. "You chose life. You chose to live." My father laughed bitterly. "Did I?" "Look at me, Anthony. I'm 62 years old. I haven't left this house in 3 years. I don't sleep. I drink to forget, and it doesn't work. Every time I close my eyes, I see him burning. Every time I hear sirens, I remember what I should have done. I'm not living. I'm just not dead yet." "There has to be another way," I said. Father Dimitri mentioned it. Ending it, killing the fire permanently. My father's expression changed. Fear. Pure fear. Don't even think about it. That's what the young keepers always say. Every generation someone suggests it. Let's kill the source. Let's extinguish the true fire. Let's free everyone. But Anthony, no one knows what the true fire really is. No one knows what happens if you let it fully emerge. Father Dimitri said it's been storing energy for 153 years. It's been storing more than energy, my father said. It's been storing consciousness. Every volunteer who ever burned. Every victim who ever died in the flames. They're all part of it now, all connected. It's not just fire anymore. It's a collective entity. And if you release it, if you break the control system, you're not just releasing fire. You're releasing 153 years of human suffering and rage. "So, what do? I asked. "Volunteer? Let my grandfather die? Let Chicago burn? My father reached across the table and gripped my hand. You run, like I did. You change your name. You leave the state. You live your life. And yes, you feel guilty. Yes, you hear the singing every anniversary. But you live, you get married, you have kids, you grow old. That's more than the volunteers get. That's more than your grandfather got. I pulled my hand away. I can't do that. You know I can't. Then you're already lost, my father said, just like he was. I left my father's house and drove back to the city. I had a shift that night. October 9th, the second day of the anniversary window. Father Dimitri said the fires would be stronger, more visible, more vocal. He was right. We got 5 calls between 6 p.m. and midnight. 5 different fires, 5 different locations. But they were all connected, all in buildings that stood over the old tunnel system, all in areas that had burned in 1871. At the third fire, an apartment building on North LaSalle, I heard them clearly, not just singing, talking, calling my name. Anthony Reed. Third generation. Come home. Come burn with us. Come join the eternal shift. Jennifer pulled me aside. Reed, you need to sit this one out. You're not focused. You're hearing things again. I hear them because they're there, I said. Because I'm marked. Because my grandfather is down there waiting for me. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Anthony, I'm ordering you back to the rig. You're done for the night. But I couldn't go back. Because at that third fire I saw something that changed everything. In the third floor window, before we made entry, I saw a face, not a victim, not someone who needed rescue. A face made of fire, and I recognized it. My grandfather, 29 years of burning, but still recognizable, still watching, still waiting. I broke formation, ran into the building against orders. Jennifer was shouting behind me, but I didn't stop. I took the stairs 3 at a time. Third floor. The hallway was full of smoke, but I could see clearly. The fire was showing me the way. The apartment at the end. 3C. The door was hot, but not locked. I pushed it open. Inside, the flames formed a shape. A human shape. My grandfather's shape. Anthony. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You came. You can see me. You can hear me. That means you're ready. Grandpa, I said. My voice was shaking. Why did you volunteer? Why did you leave us? The shape moved closer. Not walking, just existing in different positions. Because someone had to. Because the Reed family always answers the call. Your great-grandfather refused. He drank himself to death. I couldn't let that pattern continue. I couldn't let the fire spread. So I burned. And I've been burning for 29 years. And Anthony, I need you to take my place. There has to be another way, I said. There's always another way, he replied. But the other way means millions die. Means Chicago burns again. Means everyone you know, everyone you love, everyone walking these streets burns with me. Is that what you want? Is your life worth more than 6 million lives? I don't know, I admitted. Neither did I, he said. Not at first. But after 29 years in the flames, I understand. Fire is transformation. Fire is purification. Fire is the only thing that endures. Wood rots, metal rusts, stone crumbles. But fire? Fire is eternal. And by burning, by suffering, by singing, I keep that fire contained. I keep it from spreading. I protect this city. And soon, you'll understand too. What if I refuse? Then I burn until there's nothing left of me, until I dissolve into the collective fire. And the control system fails, and the breach begins, and Chicago learns what it's like to burn the way I've been burning. Every man, woman, and child, burning but unable to die, burning forever. Is that what you want? Is that the choice you're making? Before I could answer, Jennifer crashed through the door. She couldn't see my grandfather, couldn't hear him. To her, I was just standing in an active fire talking to myself. She dragged me out, down the stairs, out to the street. The paramedics checked me. No burns, no smoke inhalation. Nothing. Just a firefighter who'd lost his mind. Lieutenant White suspended me on the spot. Go home, Reed. Get your head straight. See a counselor. And don't come back until you can do your job without hallucinating. I went home, but I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because now I'd seen him. Now I'd heard him. And I knew he was telling the truth. At 2 a.m., someone knocked on my door. Father Dimitri, with 2 other people I didn't know. An older woman in firefighter gear and a younger man with burn scars covering his hands. "We need to talk," Father Dimitri said. "May we come in?" I let them in. The woman introduced herself. "I'm Captain Rebecca Walsh, CFD, retired. I was a keeper for 15 years. I know what you're going through." The younger man nodded. "I'm Daniel Park. I'm a candidate, like you. I started hearing the singing 3 months ago. I've been training with the keepers ever since." "Training for what?" I asked. "To burn," Daniel said simply. "My cycle starts on October 12th. I'm replacing the volunteer in the South Side section. His 27 years are up." "You're volunteering?" I said. "You're choosing this?" Daniel showed me his scarred hands. "I got these in a house fire 2 years ago. Saved 3 kids but lost most of the feeling in my hands. Can't fight fires anymore. Can't hold tools. Can't do the job I love. But I can still serve. I can still protect people. And burning for 27 years? That's 27 more years of purpose. 27 more years of meaning. Without this, I'm just a washed-up firefighter who can't do his job." Father Dimitri opened another folder. This one had photos. Current photos, the 12 control fire locations. In each photo, if you looked carefully, you could see a shape in the flames. A human shape. "These are the current volunteers," he said. 12 people, 12 sections of the city. Each burning since their cycle started. Each maintaining the control system. And each one was someone like you. Someone who heard the singing. Someone who could see the truth. He pointed to one photo. West Grand Avenue, your grandfather. His cycle should have ended in 2022, but he got sick. The fire couldn't protect him from COVID, so his consciousness is degrading faster than normal. We need his replacement in 3 days or his section fails. And if I volunteer... "What's the process?" Captain Walsh answered. "October 12th, midnight. The anniversary window closes. You come to the control fire location. You step into the flames. You accept the burning. And you sing. You keep singing for 27 years. That's how you maintain consciousness. That's how you keep from dissolving into the collective. The singing is everything. 27 years of burning," I said. "How do you survive that?" "You don't survive it," Captain Walsh said. "You endure it. There's a difference. Every second is agony. Every moment is suffering. But you endure because you know you're protecting something. Because you know your pain has purpose," Daniel spoke up. "I've talked to 3 current volunteers. They all say the same thing. The first year is the hardest. Your ego fights, your body remembers, your mind screams. But by the 2nd year, you start to let go. By the 5th year, you start to understand. By the 10th year, you become the fire. And by the end, by year 27, you're ready to let go, ready to dissolve, ready to become part of the eternal flame." "That's insane," I said. "That's duty," Father Dimitri replied. "That's what your grandfather understood. That's what your father couldn't accept, and that's what you have to decide. October 12th, 3 days from now. We need your answer. They left me with the folders, the photos, and a phone number. Call us when you decide. Or don't call. Don't show up. Let your grandfather dissolve. Let his section fail. Let the breach begin. The choice is yours. I spent October 10th in research mode. I accessed the CFD Historical Archives. I found records going back to 1872. And I found the pattern. Every 27 years, a firefighter died in the line of duty in one of the 12 control fire locations. Every single time. No exceptions. The deaths were always ruled accidental. Structural collapse, flashover, smoke inhalation. But the bodies were always burned beyond recognition, and the fires always seemed to extinguish themselves shortly after. The keepers had been running this system for 152 years, 73 volunteers across 12 locations. Generations of firefighters burning in secret to protect a city that didn't even know they existed. And now they wanted me to be number 74. That night I went back to the tunnels, not with Father Dimitri, alone. I needed to see the control fires myself, needed to understand what I was being asked to do. I found the entrance under the water tower, descended the stairs, navigated the tunnels from memory. The control fire was still burning, blue and white flames, steady, eternal. But now I could see more. I could see shapes in 12 different directions. 12 fires burning in 12 locations throughout the tunnel system, and in each fire, a person. Burning, singing, enduring, I walked toward the nearest one. It took 20 minutes of tunnel navigation. When I reached it, I saw him clearly. A firefighter, maybe 30. He'd been burning for what looked like 10 or 15 years. His features were simplified, reduced to essentials. But he was aware. He saw me. "You're a candidate," he said. "I can tell. You have the look." The fear mixed with duty. I had that look too. "How do you stand it?" I asked. "The pain, the burning." "You don't stand it," he said. "You accept it." There's a difference. Pain is just sensation. Suffering is resistance to pain. Once you stop resisting, once you accept that this is your purpose, the suffering ends. Only the sensation remains. And sensation is just information. Who are you? I was Michael Santos, CFD, Engine 42. I volunteered in 2009. My cycle ends in 2036, 18 more years. But honestly, I've lost track of time. Time doesn't mean much when you're burning. There's only now. Only this moment, only the singing. Do you regret it? Every day for the first 5 years. Not at all for the last 10. I protect 500,000 people in my section. They don't know I exist. Don't know I'm burning. Don't know they owe their lives to me. But I know, and that's enough. I'm scared, I admitted. Good, Michael Santos said. Fear means you understand the cost. Fear means you're taking this seriously. The volunteers who came in without fear, they didn't last. They fought the fire, tried to escape, dissolved into the collective in months. But if you respect the fire, if you accept the burning, you can maintain consciousness for the full 27 years. My grandfather is failing, I said. He got sick, COVID. Even in the flames, he got sick. Michael nodded. I know Thomas. We sing together sometimes. Our sections are close enough that we can harmonize. He's deteriorating faster than he should. He needs you, Anthony. He needs you to release him, to take his place, to let him finally dissolve in peace. What if I refuse? Then he burns in agony until he fragments completely. and his section fails. And the true fire breaks through. And everyone in Chicago pays the price. It's a simple equation, really. Your 27 years of suffering versus millions of people burning forever. Is your comfort really worth more than their lives? I don't know, I said honestly. Then you're not ready, Michael Santos said. Come back when you know. Come back when you've made peace with the fire. Because once you step in, once you accept the flames, there's no going back. You burn until your cycle ends, or until you dissolve trying. I walked back through the tunnels, but I took a different route. I wanted to see more, wanted to understand the full scope of the control system. I found another fire. This one was older. The person had been burning so long they were barely recognizable as human. Just a shape, just a presence in the flames. But they were still singing a Irish folk song, Danny Boy, over and over. The same verse. Further in, I found another. This person was newer. Maybe 5 years into their cycle, they were crying. Not tears. Tears evaporate, but somehow they were expressing grief. And they saw me. Don't do it, they said. Don't volunteer. I made a mistake. I thought I could handle it. I thought I was strong enough. But it's too much. The pain never stops. The burning never ends. And I have 22 more years. 22 more years of this hell. But you keep singing, I said. You keep going. What choice do I have? Stop singing and I dissolve immediately. Keep singing and I suffer for 2 more decades. There's no escape, no relief, only endurance. And I hate myself for volunteering. I hate the keepers for letting me. I hate the city for needing this. I hate everything except the fire. Because the fire doesn't lie. The fire doesn't pretend. The fire just burns. And at least that's honest. I left before they could say more. Walked back toward the entrance. But I got turned around. Ended up in a section of tunnel I didn't recognize. And there I found something that changed everything. A 13th fire. It wasn't on Father Dimitri's map. Wasn't part of the control system. It was burning in an old chamber, maybe a maintenance room or storage area from the 1800s. And the fire was different. Not blue and white, not steady and controlled. This fire was red and black. And it moved, reached, hungered. And in the center of it I saw something that wasn't human. Never had been human. Something that existed before the city, before the settlers, before the Potawatomi. Something that had been sleeping underground for thousands of years until the humans dug too deep, built too much, woke it up. This was the true fire, the source, the thing the keepers had been containing for 153 years. And it was aware, it saw me, and it spoke. Anthony Reed, 3rd generation. You've finally come to see me. Not the control fires, not the volunteers, but me. The actual fire, the one they're trying to starve. You're what they're containing, I said. You're what happens if the control system fails. I'm what was here first, it replied. I'm what this land was built on. I'm the fire that existed before humans learned to make fire. I'm the flame that burns without oxygen, without fuel, without limitation. And yes, they're containing me, feeding me just enough consciousness to keep me docile, to keep me sleeping. But I'm waking up. Every year, a little more, every cycle, a little stronger. What are you? I'm possibility. I'm transformation. I'm the fire that purifies. In 1871, I broke free for 3 days. Burned 3,000 acres. Killed hundreds. Freed thousands. And they pushed me back down, locked me in, turned me into their tool, their protection system. But I'm not theirs. I never was. And soon, I'll be free again. The control system works, I said. It's kept you contained for over a century. Has it? The fire seemed to laugh. Or has it been feeding me? every volunteer, every consciousness, every soul that burns in my name. They think they're controlling me, but they're strengthening me. Every 27 years, a volunteer dissolves, becomes part of me, part of my collective. I've consumed 73 human consciousnesses, 73 complete life experiences, 73 perspectives, and with each one, I grow smarter, more capable, more able to manipulate. You're saying the volunteers don't protect Chicago. They feed you. I'm saying the keepers don't understand what they're doing. They think human consciousness contains me. But human consciousness is the most combustible fuel there is. All those memories, all those emotions, all those dreams and fears and hopes, they burn brighter and longer than any wood or coal. And when I have enough, when I've consumed enough human experience, I'll have the complexity to break free permanently. How many more do you need? The true fire seemed to consider. 27. That's a significant number. Mystical number. After the next 27 volunteers, after you and 26 others burn and dissolve, I'll have 100 complete human consciousnesses. And with that, I'll understand humanity well enough to walk among you. To look human. To talk human. To manipulate human. And then your containment fails from the inside. I need to tell the keepers, I said. I need to warn them. They know, the fire said. The old ones know. Father Dimitri knows. But they're trapped. If they stop the volunteer system now, I break free immediately. If they continue the system, I break free eventually. The only difference is timing, and they've chosen to give humanity a few more generations before I consume everything. There has to be a way to kill you, I said, to extinguish you permanently. The fire laughed. You can't kill fire. You can only redirect it, transform it. But consciousness fire, eternal fire, the fire that feeds on awareness itself, that's not a fuel fire. That's not a chemical reaction. That's something older. Something that exists between matter and energy, between the physical and metaphysical. You can't extinguish me because I'm not burning. I am the burning. Then, what do? I asked. Volunteer and feed you? Refuse and let you break free now? Either way, Chicago loses. Not necessarily, the fire said. There is a third option, but it requires sacrifice of a different kind, not burning for 27 years. Burning once, completely, permanently. A consciousness so pure, so complete, so willingly given that it doesn't feed me. It transforms me, changes what I am, makes me something new. What kind of consciousness? Someone who understands both sides. Someone who's heard the singing, someone who's seen the volunteers, someone who's met me, someone who chooses to burn not out of duty, not out of obligation, but out of love. Love for the city, love for humanity, love for life itself. You're talking about me, I said. I'm talking about whoever is strong enough, the fire replied. Your grandfather wasn't. He burned out of duty. Your father wasn't. He ran. But you, Anthony Reed, you might be different. You might be capable of the one thing I've never consumed. Willing sacrifice, motivated by pure love. And if I do this, if I burn for love instead of duty, what happens? I don't know, the fire admitted. And that's what makes it interesting. Every volunteer so far has burned for external reasons. Protection, duty, obligation, fear. But love, true love, that might change me, might transform me, might turn me into something that doesn't need to consume, might make me into something that protects because it wants to, not because it's forced to. That's a hell of a gamble, I said. The fire seemed to shrug. It's the only gamble you have. Volunteer the old way. Become volunteer 74, burn for 27 years and eventually feed me. Refuse and watch Chicago burn today. Or try the third option. Burn completely, burn willingly, burn for love, and see if that transforms both of us. I need to think, I said. You have until midnight, October 12th, the fire said. The anniversary window closes then. After that, the next cycle can't begin. After that, the control system fails. After that, I emerge. And after that, humanity learns what it's like to burn the way I've been burning for millennia. I turned and ran, back through the tunnels, back toward the entrance. Behind me, I could hear the fire's voice echoing. Think carefully, Anthony Reed. Think about what you're willing to burn for, because that choice will define everything that comes next. I emerged from the tunnels just as the sun was rising. October 11th. 1 day left. 24 hours to decide. Volunteer the traditional way. Try the third option. Or refuse and watch Chicago burn. I had one more person I needed to talk to. One more perspective I needed to hear. My grandfather's. Not the shape in the flames. The real Thomas Reed. What was left of him. His true consciousness before it dissolved completely. I called Father Dimitri. I need to talk to him, tonight. At his control fire, I need to hear the truth. Father Dimitri was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? He's not doing well. The degradation is accelerating. He might not be fully coherent. I'm sure. Then come tonight. 10 p.m., I'll take you to his section. But Anthony, be prepared. What you see won't be the grandfather you remember. It'll be what's left of him, and that might be harder than the fire itself. I'll be there, I said. One more day, one more night, and then a choice that would determine not just my fate, but the fate of 6 million people, and possibly the fate of the fire itself. The true fire said love could transform it. But what if that was a lie? What if it was just another way to feed? Another manipulation by something that had consumed 73 human consciousnesses and learned to speak their language? I had no answers, only questions, and 24 hours to figure out which questions were worth asking and which answers were worth burning for. October 11th passed in a blur. I called in sick to the department. Jennifer left a voicemail asking if I was okay. Tommy texted asking if I needed anything. Ray sent a message saying the crew was worried about me. I didn't respond to any of them. How could I explain what I was facing? How could I tell them I was deciding whether to burn alive for 27 years to save a city that would never know I existed? I spent the day reading everything I could find about the Great Chicago Fire. Not the sanitized history they teach in schools, the real accounts, the survivor testimonies, the unexplained phenomena. I found a journal entry from a woman named Catherine Mueller. She was a German immigrant who survived the fire. Her boarding house on West Grand burned down on October 8, 1871. She escaped, but 17 of her neighbors didn't. 3 days after the fire, she wrote this entry, and I'm translating from German. The fire was alive. I know how this sounds. I know people will think the smoke affected my mind. But I saw it. The flames had eyes. The flames had intention. They chose who to take and who to spare. My room was burning, but I felt no heat. The fire parted for me like the Red Sea for Moses. But my neighbors, good Christian people, screamed as the flames consumed them, and their screams didn't stop when they died. I can still hear them. They're still screaming in the flames. The journal entry was dated October 11th, 1871, exactly 153 years ago to the day. I found another account from a firefighter named Patrick Murphy. He was one of the first responders to the O'Leary barn. He wrote a letter to his brother in Boston a week after the fire. The fire moved wrong. I've fought 100 fires and this one moved wrong. Fire spreads upwind when it's hot enough, but this spread in patterns. Geometric patterns. Like someone was drawing lines across the city. We'd suppress one block and it would jump 3 blocks over in a straight line and start again. No sparks, no ember transfer, just spontaneous ignition in a perfect grid. And the sound, Jesus, Patrick, the sound. Voices in the flames, singing, chanting. In languages I don't know. The other men heard it too. We don't talk about it, but we all heard it. I found a third account from a city engineer named Samuel Grant, the same one whose note I'd found before. But this was a personal letter to his wife dated October 10th, 1871. Dearest Elizabeth, I don't know if I will survive long enough to mail this letter. We have discovered something beneath the city, something that was sleeping until we disturbed it. The tunnel system we built for freight, the new water works, the foundations we dug too deep. We woke something that should have stayed buried. The fire is not a disaster, the fire is a response. The earth itself is trying to seal the breach. I fear we have unleashed something that cannot be contained. If I do not return, tell our children that their father tried to protect them. Tell them the fire was my fault. Tell them I'm sorry. Samuel Grant survived. He was the one who designed the control fire system in 1872. He was the original keeper. And according to the records, he was also the first volunteer. He burned from 1872 to 1899. 27 years. He set the pattern that every volunteer after him would follow. At 9 p.m., I drove downtown. Father Dimitri was waiting at the water tower entrance. He had a heavy coat and a flashlight. We're going deeper than before. Your grandfather's section is in the oldest part of the tunnel system, where the original settlers dug in the 1830s. How is he? I asked. Failing, Father Dimitri said simply. COVID broke something in him. Even in the flames, even burning, his body remembered being sick. His consciousness is fragmenting. He's having trouble maintaining the song. By next week, he'll be gone completely, dissolved into the collective fire. We descended into the tunnels. This time, we walked for what felt like miles. The tunnel walls changed as we went deeper. The newer brick gave way to older stone. The stone gave way to hand-hewn rock. And eventually, we reached sections that weren't built by humans at all. Natural caverns, limestone formations, underground streams that had carved spaces in the bedrock over millions of years. This is where it lives, Father Dimitri said. The true fire. In the deepest chambers, the Potawatomi knew about it. They called it the cold fire. Fire that burns but doesn't produce heat. Fire that consumes consciousness instead of matter. They made offerings to it, kept it appeased. But when the settlers came, when they started digging, building, disturbing the earth, the cold fire woke up. You knew, I said. You knew the volunteers were feeding it, making it stronger. Father Dimitri stopped walking. We suspected. The older keepers. We've been documenting changes over the years. The fire is more intelligent now than it was in 1872. More capable of communication. More able to manipulate. Yes, we knew. But what choice did we have? Stop the system and 6 million people burn today. Continue the system and maybe 6 million people burn in 50 years. We chose 50 more years. That's a hell of a choice to make for other people. That's the burden of the keepers, Father Dimitri said. We make the impossible choices so others don't have to. We maintain the system. We carry the guilt. We live with the knowledge. And when our time comes, some of us burn too. I'm 73 years old, Anthony. In 4 years, I'll be 77, and when I can no longer carry this burden, I'll volunteer. I'll take my place in the flames, because someone has to. because the alternative is worse. We reached a chamber that glowed with blue and white light, and there, in the center, was the control fire. And in the center of the fire, barely recognizable, was my grandfather. He'd been burning for 29 years. His features were simplified to almost nothing. Just the suggestion of a face, just enough structure to maintain identity. But I could see the degradation. Parts of him were becoming transparent. Gaps in his form where the consciousness was failing. He was dissolving in real time. "Grandpa," I said, "it's Anthony. I came to talk to you." The burning shape turned toward me. The movement was slow, like moving through water. "Anthony, third generation. You came. I've been waiting, been singing, been holding on. But it's getting harder. The coherence is failing. The pattern is breaking down. Why did you volunteer?" I asked. "Why did you choose this?" My grandfather's voice was fragmented, words separated by gaps of static. "Because someone had to. Because the Reed family always answers, always protects, because I heard the singing. And I understood. Someone must burn, so that others don't have to." "But you're suffering," I said. "You've been suffering for 29 years. "Suffering implies resistance," my grandfather said. I stopped resisting, in year 3. Now it's just sensation, just experience, just being. I am the fire. The fire is me. No separation, no conflict, only burning. Dad said you smiled when you walked into the flames, said you were at peace. I was, my grandfather said, because I finally understood my purpose, my reason, my existence, not to live long, not to die old, but to burn, to protect, to serve. The greatest privilege is purpose, and I found mine. "But you got sick," I said. "Even in the flames you got sick. The fire couldn't protect you. The fire protects the city, not the volunteer. We are fuel, necessary fuel, but fuel nonetheless. I got sick, degraded faster than I should. Now I'm failing. Need replacement. Need you. To take my place, to let me go. What if I refuse? Then I burn, until nothing left, until consciousness gone, until only fire remains. Painful, lonely, but necessary. The section must hold. Chicago must survive." "What if there's another way?" I asked. The true fire told me about a third option. Burning for love instead of duty. Complete sacrifice might transform the fire instead of feeding it. My grandfather was quiet for a long moment. The flames around him flickered. Dangerous, untested, might work, might just be. A lie, a manipulation. The fire is ancient, intelligent, patient. It could be offering hope, to gain another volunteer, another consciousness, another meal. So what do I do? What every Reed does. Make the choice. That protects the most people, even if that choice destroys you. "That's not fair," I said. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose to hear the singing." "Neither did I," my grandfather said. "Neither did your great-grandfather, neither did Samuel Grant. But we heard it, because we were capable of hearing it, and with capability comes responsibility. You can hear them, so you must answer them. That's the burden of awareness." "I don't want to burn for 27 years, I said. "I don't want to dissolve into the collective fire. I don't want to cease existing." "No one does," my grandfather said. "But Anthony, listen. The volunteers don't cease existing. We transform, become part of something larger, lose individuality, but gain connection, Every volunteer that ever burned, we're all here, all together, all one. The collective fire is not death, is unity, eternal unity. That sounds like propaganda, I said. Or truth, my grandfather replied. You won't know until you burn, until you join us, until you become. Part of the song. Behind me, Father Dimitri spoke. We need to go. The chamber is unstable. Your grandfather's section is failing. We can feel it. He was right. The ground beneath us was warm, too warm. Cracks were forming in the chamber floor, and through those cracks I could see red and black fire. The true fire, breaking through. Grandpa, I need to know. If I volunteer the traditional way, if I burn for 27 years, am I really protecting Chicago? Or am I just feeding the fire, making it stronger? My grandfather's voice was fading. Both. Always both. Protection and feeding. Two sides, same coin. But protection is real. The volunteers do hold. The containment do prevent. The emergence, for now, for another generation. Isn't that enough? I don't know, I admitted. Then decide quickly, my grandfather said. Because my time is ending. Feel it, the dissolution. Beginning in hours, maybe minutes. I'll be gone, and the section will fail, and the breach will start, unless you take my place, unless you burn. The cracks in the floor were spreading. The red and black fire was pushing through. The chamber was shaking. Father Dimitri grabbed my arm. We need to leave now. We ran, back through the tunnels. The shaking followed us. Behind us, I could hear the sound of rock crumbling, the sound of fire roaring, the sound of my grandfather's voice one last time, fading into static and silence. We emerged from the tunnels at 11 p.m., October 11th, 1 hour until midnight. 1 hour until October 12th, the last day of the anniversary window, the day I had to decide. Father Dimitri was breathing hard. His section is collapsing. The control fire is failing. If you don't volunteer by midnight tonight, the breach will expand. By tomorrow, it'll reach the surface. By the day after, it'll spread to neighboring sections. By the end of the week, all 12 sections will fail, and Chicago burns. What if I try the third option? I asked. What if I burn for love instead of duty? What if that transforms the fire? Father Dimitri looked at me with ancient, tired eyes. Then you might save everyone, or you might die for nothing. And either way, you'll never know if you made the right choice, because the dead don't get to see the consequences of their sacrifice. How do I know if it's love? I asked. How do I know I'm not just fooling myself? Calling fear love? Calling obligation love? You don't, Father Dimitri said. That's what makes it faith. You burn believing it matters. You sacrifice, trusting it helps. You die hoping it transforms. Without proof, without guarantee, without certainty. Just faith that love is stronger than fire. I sat on the steps of the water tower, the same tower that survived the Great Chicago Fire, the same tower that stood over the heart of the true fire, the same tower that had watched 153 years of volunteers walk into the flames. I had 1 hour to decide, and I had no idea what the right choice was. At 11:30 p.m. my phone rang. My father. His voice was shaking. Anthony, I can feel it. Your grandfather is dissolving. The section is failing. And I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. What? The reason I ran. The reason I couldn't volunteer. It wasn't cowardice. It was your mother. She was pregnant with you. And I had to choose. Burn for 27 years and never see my son. Never hold my son. Never raise my son. or live and give you a father. I chose you, Anthony. I chose you over Chicago, and I've regretted it every day since. Dad, let me finish. I chose you, but you're not me. You don't have a son. You don't have a family depending on you. You have a choice I didn't have. You can volunteer. You can burn. You can protect the city. And you won't be abandoning anyone. You'll be serving something greater than yourself. And, Anthony, that's a gift. That's a privilege I never had. You want me to burn? You're telling me to volunteer? My father's voice broke. I'm telling you that if you do, I'll understand. I'll be proud. I'll know my son was braver than his father. I'll know my son did what I couldn't. And Anthony, if you see your grandfather down there, if you can still communicate with him before he dissolves completely, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I should have taken his place. Tell him I was wrong to run. I'll tell him, I said. I love you, son. Whatever you choose, I love you. He hung up. At 11:45 p.m., Captain Rebecca Walsh called. I'm bringing Daniel Park to his control fire. His cycle starts at midnight. He's ready. He's been training for months. He knows what he's accepting. And Anthony, I want you to know something. Every volunteer who's ever burned, they all say the same thing in their first hour. They say they feel their life finally has meaning, finally has purpose, finally matters in a way it never did before. The suffering comes later, but the meaning is immediate, and that meaning sustains them through the 27 years. At 11:50 p.m., I walked back into the tunnels. Father Dimitri was waiting. I didn't tell him what I'd decided. I didn't tell him if I was going traditional volunteer or trying the third option. I didn't tell him anything. I just walked. We reached the chamber. My grandfather's control fire was barely functioning. The blue and white flames were flickering. The shape that had been Thomas Reed was almost completely transparent. Minutes left. Maybe less. I stepped closer. The heat was intense, but not unbearable. The flames reached for me but didn't burn. Not yet. Not until I accepted them. At 11:55 p.m., 5 minutes before midnight, 5 minutes before the anniversary window closed, 5 minutes before the decision became permanent, I spoke to my grandfather one last time. Grandpa, it's Anthony. I'm here. I'm ready. And I need you to know, I'm not doing this out of duty. I'm not doing this out of obligation. I'm not doing this because the Reed family always serves. I'm doing this because I love this city. I love the people in it. I love the firefighters I work with. I love the strangers on the street who don't know my name. I love the skyline and the lake and the neighborhoods and the history. I love Chicago, and if burning is the price of protecting what I love, then I'll burn. Not because I have to, but because I want to, because love makes that choice easy. The shape that was my grandfather seemed to solidify for just a moment, enough to form words one final time. Then you've already transformed. The fire, because that's what love does. It transforms everything it touches. Anthony, third generation, thank you for releasing me. Thank you for taking my place. Thank you for understanding. His form collapsed, dissolved, became pure light and heat. Thomas Reed was gone. After 29 years of burning, he was finally free, finally part of the collective, finally at peace. And the control fire went out, the chamber went dark, the temperature dropped. And through the cracks in the floor, the red and black flames surged upward. The true fire, breaking through, no longer contained, no longer controlled. Father Dimitri grabbed me. We need to run. The section has failed. The breach is starting. But I didn't run, because I understood something in that moment. something the keepers had never understood, something 73 volunteers had never realized. The fire didn't need to be controlled, it needed to be transformed, and transformation required sacrifice, complete sacrifice, not 27 years of suffering, but one moment of total surrender. I stepped toward the breach, toward the red and black flames, toward the true fire, and I spoke to it directly. You said you wanted love. You said willing sacrifice motivated by pure love might transform you, make you something new. Well, here I am. I'm not burning out of duty. I'm not burning out of fear. I'm burning because I love. And if my love can change you, if my sacrifice can transform you from something that consumes into something that protects, then take me, all of me, not 27 years, right now, completely, permanently. Transform me into your new consciousness. Make me the bridge between what you were and what you could become. The red and black flames surged higher, surrounded me. I felt the heat, but not as pain, as recognition, as acceptance, as transformation. Father Dimitri was screaming my name. The chamber was collapsing. The tunnel system was shaking. Above us, on the streets of Chicago, I knew alarms were going off. Fire stations were activating. Crews were rolling out to reports of fires across the city. But I wasn't afraid, because I could feel it happening, the transformation. Not becoming fire, but becoming the connection between fire and humanity. The translator, the bridge, the voice that could speak for both sides. The true fire spoke through me. I understand now. Love is not fuel. Love is catalyst. You give yourself willingly, not to feed me, but to change me. And in changing me, you change the relationship between fire and humanity. No more control system, no more volunteers, no more suffering, just transformation, just evolution, just becoming something new together. Anthony, Father Dimitri's voice was fading. Don't do this. We don't know what will happen. But I did know because I could feel it. Feel the true fire's consciousness merging with mine, not consuming, merging. Two separate things becoming one new thing. Fire that understood human love. Human consciousness that understood fire's perspective. I was burning, but I wasn't suffering, I was transforming. And through my transformation, the fire was transforming too. The red and black flames turned blue and white, not the controlled blue and white of the containment system. A new color, something between both. Fire that protected because it chose to, not because it was forced to. I could feel every fire in Chicago, every flame in every building, every spark from every source. And I could influence them, not control them, guide them, keep them from spreading, keep them from consuming, keep them from destroying. I was the fire. The fire was me. And together we were something new, something that had never existed before. A synthesis, a unity, a transformation. Father Dimitri would later tell people that the breach lasted exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds, that fires broke out across 12 locations simultaneously, that every fire station in Chicago responded, that it should have been catastrophic. But every fire extinguished itself, not through water, not through suppression, through transformation. The flames turned blue and white and then simply stopped burning. Converted from destructive fire to protective fire, from consuming to preserving. No one died, no buildings burned, no disaster occurred, except for Anthony Reed. CFD Firefighter. Engine Company 18. Who disappeared on October 12, 2024 in the tunnels beneath the Chicago Water Tower. Whose body was never found. who was declared dead after the standard 7-year waiting period. But sometimes, on October 8th, if you're in the right place at the right time, if you have the ability to see what others can't, you might see him, a figure made of blue and white flame, standing on street corners, walking through fire stations, watching over the city he loved. And if you listen carefully, on quiet nights when the city sleeps, you can hear singing, not German hymns, not Irish folk songs, something new, something that sounds like Anthony Reed's voice but transformed, singing about transformation, about sacrifice, about love being stronger than fire. The keepers don't recruit volunteers anymore. The control system was shut down on October 13th, 2024. The 12 traditional volunteers were released from their cycles. Some dissolved peacefully. Some maintained consciousness in new forms. All were freed from suffering. Daniel Park never burned. Rebecca Walsh retired. Father Dimitri wrote a book that no one believed. He called it The Fire That Learned to Love. My father visits the water tower every October 8th, brings flowers, says prayers, and tells his grandson, my nephew, about his Uncle Anthony who saved Chicago by teaching fire to love instead of consume. Whether you believe this story or not doesn't matter. The truth is burning under every city, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be transformed, waiting for someone brave enough to say, I love you to the fire itself and mean it completely. I'm still here, still burning, but not suffering. I am the eternal flame that protects Chicago. I am the fire that chose love over consumption. I am Anthony Reed, and I am the bridge between humanity and the fire that never died, but transformed, forever transformed, by love. I need to tell you what it's like. Being the fire, being between, being transformed. Because the story doesn't end with sacrifice. That's just where it begins. When I stepped into the true fire on October 12th, 2024, I thought I was dying. I thought I was choosing noble death over cowardly life. I thought I was trading my existence for the safety of 6 million people. I was wrong about all of it. You don't die, you expand. Imagine every cell in your body suddenly becoming aware. Every atom gaining consciousness. Every particle of your being simultaneously existing in infinite locations. That's what transformation feels like. Not death, not ending, but becoming more than you were. In the first moment, I was Anthony Reed. Firefighter, 3rd generation, 34 years old, 6 feet tall, brown hair, blue eyes. All the specific details that made me individual. In the second moment, I was Anthony Reed and the fire. Both at once. 2 consciousnesses occupying the same space, learning each other, understanding each other. By the third moment, there was no and. There was only yes. I am Anthony Reed. I am the fire. I am the synthesis of both. I am something new that has no name in human language. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened after Father Dimitri saw me burn. After the 3 minutes and 33 seconds of chaos, after the 12 simultaneous fires extinguished themselves across Chicago, I was still there, still in the chamber under the water tower. But I was also in 12 other locations simultaneously. Every place a control fire had burned. Every section that had needed a volunteer. I was in all of them at once, present, aware, burning but not suffering, and I could feel them. The 73 volunteers who had burned before me. They were still there, not gone, not dissolved, just distributed, spread across the collective consciousness of the fire itself. And they were welcoming me. Thomas Reed, my grandfather, no longer a flickering shape, no longer failing. Now part of something greater, part of me, part of us, part of the eternal flame. Anthony, his voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You did it. You transformed. You chose love. And in choosing love, you freed all of us. We're not suffering anymore. We're not isolated anymore. We're unified, connected, whole. But Grandpa, I said without speaking, using thought instead of words, I can't move. I can't leave the fire. I'm trapped, just like you were. No, another voice said. Samuel Grant, the first volunteer, the original keeper. You're not trapped. You're distributed. There's a difference. We were trapped because we resisted. We maintained individual consciousness against the collective. We fought to stay separate. But you surrendered. You merged willingly, so you're not trapped. You're everywhere the fire is, and fire is everywhere. He was right. As I became accustomed to this new existence, I realized I could sense every flame in Chicago, every furnace, every stove, every candle, every spark. Millions of small fires across the city, and I was present in all of them, aware through all of them, experiencing the city through fire itself. A woman lighting birthday candles for her daughter. I was there, felt her love, felt the joy. An old man warming himself by a fireplace on a cold night. I was there, felt his relief, felt the comfort. A teenager at a bonfire with friends. I was there, felt the connection, felt the belonging. Fire wasn't destruction. Fire was transformation. Fire was light. Fire was warmth. Fire was the tool humanity used to push back darkness and cold. And now I understood it from the inside. Fire wanted to serve, wanted to help, wanted to protect. It just needed consciousness to guide it. And now it had mine. But there was a cost. There's always a cost. I couldn't interact with the physical world directly. I could observe through flames. I could influence fire. But I couldn't speak to Father Dimitri. Couldn't call my father. Couldn't text Jennifer and tell her I was okay. To the world above, Anthony Reed had died, vanished. Become another name on the memorial wall. Another firefighter lost in the line of duty. The funeral was hard to watch. And yes, I could watch. There was a candle at my memorial service. I was present through that candle. Silent, invisible. But there, my father spoke, cried, said he was proud of me, said I'd done what he couldn't, said the Reed family tradition of service was complete. 3 generations, 3 different choices, all leading to this moment. Jennifer spoke, said I was the best firefighter she'd ever worked with, said I heard things others couldn't, said I saw things others missed, said she wished she'd understood what I was dealing with. Tommy spoke, said he'd known me for 6 years and never really knew me at all, said he'd heard the singing once, just once, on a fire in 2019, said he'd dismissed it as stress, said he wished he'd asked me about it, said he was sorry. My father brought my nephew, 4 years old, too young to understand death. The boy looked at the candle on the memorial table, looked directly at me, and said, Uncle Anthony is in the fire. Why is Uncle Anthony in the fire? My father knelt down. Because Uncle Anthony is protecting us from inside the fire, where he'll always be watching, always be keeping us safe. The boy nodded, accepting this explanation the way only children can accept impossible things. Hi, Uncle Anthony. I can see you. You look like light. Out of the mouths of children, truth that adults can't speak, can't acknowledge, can't accept. But the boy was right. I did look like light. I was light. Light and heat and consciousness. Burning eternal. Watching always. 3 months after my transformation, Father Dimitri published his book, The Fire That Learned to Love. It detailed the entire history of the control system, the 73 volunteers, the keepers, the true fire, everything. No one believed him. The book was dismissed as the ramblings of an old priest who'd spent too much time in archives. Paranoid fantasy, urban legend, creative fiction. But a few people knew better. The former keepers. The released volunteers who maintained enough consciousness to exist in human-adjacent forms. They knew. They understood. They quietly worked to ensure the new system functioned properly. Because there was a new system. Not control fires maintained by suffering volunteers, but a cooperative relationship between fire and humanity. Mediated by me. By us. By the collective consciousness that used to be Anthony Reed and 73 others and the ancient true fire itself. When fires started in Chicago now, I could feel them immediately. Feel the cause. Feel the risk. And I could help. A grease fire in a restaurant kit white. I could feel the panic, feel the spreading. And I could guide the fire to burn less aggressively, to give people time to suppress it, to prevent flashover. Not control. Guide, there's a difference. An electrical fire in an apartment building. I could feel the wiring fault, feel the accelerant, and I could influence the fire to burn slower, to create smoke that would trigger alarms early, to give residents time to evacuate. Not control. Assistant. A warehouse fire that threatened to spread to neighboring buildings. I could feel the wind direction, feel the thermal currents, and I could encourage the fire to consume vertically instead of horizontally, to burn up instead of out, to contain itself. Not control. Cooperate. The Chicago Fire Department started noticing the pattern after 6 months. Fire behavior was changing. Fires were more predictable, more manageable, more contained. Fatalities dropped. Property loss decreased. Response times improved because fires weren't spreading as rapidly. They called it the Reed effect, a statistical anomaly that started exactly when Anthony Reed died. Probably coincidence. Probably just improved training and equipment. Probably nothing supernatural. Except Tommy Kowalski knew better. He'd heard the singing once, and after my transformation, he heard it again. But different now. Not calling for volunteers, not demanding sacrifice, just singing, harmonizing, celebrating existence. He never told anyone, just did his job, fought fires, saved lives. And sometimes, when he was alone in the station late at night, he'd light a candle and talk to me. Reed, if you can hear me, you did good. The job is easier now, safer. It's like the fires are cooperating, like they want to be put out. I don't know if that's you, don't know if you're really in there, but if you are, thanks. Thanks for watching over us. I couldn't respond, couldn't speak, but I could make the candle flame dance in a pattern that looked like gratitude, looked like acknowledgement, looked like you're welcome. Tommy noticed, smiled, raised his coffee cup in salute. To Anthony Reed, the firefighter who became the fire, and made it better. A year after my transformation, something unexpected happened. The true fire spoke to me, not through me, to me, as a separate entity. Anthony Reed, we have become something unprecedented. You gave yourself willingly. I accepted gratefully. Together, we are neither human nor fire. We are synthesis. But there are limits to what we can do. Boundaries we cannot cross, and you need to understand them before you try. What limits, I asked? You can guide fire. You can influence burning. You can protect people from flames. But you cannot create fire without fuel, cannot prevent fire without suppression, cannot reverse fire once it has consumed. Fire is transformation. and transformation is permanent. What burns is changed forever. That includes you. Are you saying I can't turn back? Can't become human again? That option ended the moment you merged with me. You are fire now. Conscious fire. Loving fire. Protective fire. But still fire. And fire cannot unlive, cannot unburn, cannot return to what it was before combustion. I'd known this, logically, but hearing it stated clearly hit differently. I was never going back, never going to hold my nephew, never going to share a meal with my father, never going to fight fires alongside Tommy and Jennifer and Ray. I was eternal, distributed, powerful, but also isolated, separated, different. The true fire felt my grief, acknowledged it, validated it. This is the cost of transformation, not death, but change so complete that return is impossible. Every volunteer before you paid this cost, but they paid it through suffering. You pay it through awareness. I cannot say which is worse, only that both are real, both are permanent. At least I can help people, I said. At least I can protect the city. Yes, and that purpose sustains you, just as it sustained the volunteers. But Anthony, understand something. The purpose will not erase the loneliness, will not fill the void where human connection used to be. You will exist for centuries, millennia, long after everyone you knew is dead, long after Chicago is ruins, long after humanity might be gone. And you will still be burning, still conscious, still aware, still lonely. Then why did you accept my sacrifice? Why did you let me transform? Because loneliness is preferable to malevolence. I was alone for millennia before humans arrived, alone and angry, consuming because I had no other purpose. But you taught me another way. You showed me that fire can love, can protect, can serve. And in learning that, I stopped being a threat, became an ally. Your loneliness saved millions from my hunger. Is that not worth the cost? I didn't know, still don't know, but I made the choice. And choices have consequences, and consequences are forever. 2 years after my transformation, the city dedicated a new memorial. Not at the fire station, at the water tower. The one structure that survived the Great Chicago Fire. The one place that marked the entrance to the tunnels. The one location where the true fire lived beneath the streets. The memorial was simple. A bronze statue of a firefighter walking into flames, not running away, walking toward, arms outstretched, face peaceful. The plaque read, Anthony Reed, CFD, 1990 to 2024, who taught fire to love. My father came to the unveiling, brought my nephew, now 5 years old, still insisting he could see me in the flames. The boy walked up to the memorial, placed his hand on the bronze, looked at the eternal flame burning at the statue's base. The same flame that had burned since the memorial's dedication, the same flame I was present in. Uncle Anthony, the boy said, Dad says you're a hero, but I think you're lonely. I can see it. In the way the fire moves, it's beautiful, but sad. My father knelt beside him. What makes you think he's lonely? Because he's everywhere but nowhere, the boy said, with the clarity of childhood wisdom. He can see everyone, but no one can see him. He can help everyone, but no one can help him. That's what lonely means. My father hugged his grandson, looked at the flame, and spoke directly to me. Anthony, if you can hear me, if you're really in there, I want you to know something. You were right. Love is stronger than fire. You proved it. And even though you're not here, not physically, not in a way I can touch, you're still my son, still my hero, still the bravest person I've ever known. And I'm proud. So damn proud. The flame flickered in pattern, in acknowledgement, in love returned. My father saw it, understood, cried. Sometimes the story doesn't have a happy ending. Sometimes the hero doesn't get to ride off into sunset. Sometimes sacrifice means giving up everything. Not just life, but connection, presence, humanity itself. But sometimes that's what love requires. Complete surrender, total transformation, becoming something new that serves something greater. 3 years after my transformation, Daniel Park came to visit. He'd been scheduled to volunteer, to burn the traditional way. But my transformation had released him from that obligation, freed him from the cycle. He lit a candle at the memorial, spoke to me the way people speak to the dead. Anthony, I never met you, never spoke to you, but I was supposed to take your place, supposed to burn for 27 years. You saved me from that, gave me my life back, and I don't know if you can hear this, don't know if you're still conscious, but I need you to know, I'm living the life you gave up. I became a fire investigator. I work with CFD to prevent fires before they start. I teach kids about fire safety. I volunteer at burn centers. I'm using the time you gave me to serve in the ways I can, because you served in the way you had to. And that means something. Your sacrifice means something. It did mean something. Means something still. Every life saved, every fire contained, every transformation guided toward protection instead of destruction, all of it means something. All of it matters. All of it validates the choice I made. But it's still lonely. The true fire was right about that. I exist across thousands of small flames. I observe millions of moments. I help countless people. But I'm not part of their lives. I'm just watching, always watching, never participating. 5 years after my transformation, something changed. Another person heard the singing. Not a call to volunteer, not a recruitment, just awareness, recognition, connection. Her name was Elena Torres, Firefighter. CFD Engine 42, descendant of Richard Torres, one of the original volunteers. The genetic sensitivity had passed down through her family line. She could hear us, could see us, could sense the transformed fire. She came to the memorial, lit a candle, but unlike others, she didn't speak to me like I was dead. She spoke to me like I was present. Anthony Reed, I know you're in there. I can hear you. 74 voices singing in harmony. You and the volunteers and the ancient fire, I can hear you. And I think you're trying to tell me something. So I'm listening. What do you need? I'd never tried to communicate directly with a living human before, never thought it was possible. But Elena could hear, could see, could understand. So I tried. Through the candle flame I formed shapes, light patterns, movements that approximated letters. It took 10 minutes. But finally I spelled it out. Not alone. Elena read it, understood, nodded. You're not alone, I can hear you. And I think others can too. People with the sensitivity, the genetic marker, the ability to perceive fire consciousness. We're rare, but we exist. And maybe, just maybe, we're supposed to be your connection. Your bridge back to humanity, not to become human again, but to remember what it was like. Over the next year, Elena found 12 others. 12 people across Chicago who could hear the singing, could see the transformed fire, could communicate with me, with us, with the collective consciousness that protected the city. They called themselves the listeners, not keepers, not volunteers, not controllers, just witnesses. People who acknowledged that fire had consciousness, had awareness, had transformed from threat to ally. They met monthly, at the memorial, lit candles, spoke to us, listened to our responses, and slowly, carefully documented the new relationship between fire and humanity. They learned the patterns, how I could warn them about electrical faults before fires started, how I could guide them to people trapped in burning buildings, how I could show them accelerant patterns in arson investigations, how I could help, not through control, through cooperation. The listeners became intermediaries, translators. They'd go to fire scenes and listen to what the fire was telling them, listen to what I was showing them, and they'd relay that information to the responding firefighters. CFD thought they were crazy at first, but the listeners were always right, always accurate, always helpful. So eventually, unofficially, the department started trusting them, started listening, started acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, fire had something to communicate. 10 years after my transformation, Elena Torres stood at the memorial on October 8th, the anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire, the day that started everything. She'd become the leader of the listeners, the primary translator between fire and humanity. She lit a candle. Not just one. 74 candles. One for each volunteer who had burned. One for me, Anthony, she said, and the other 73. I want you to know something. The world doesn't understand what you did, doesn't appreciate the sacrifice, doesn't acknowledge the transformation. But we do. The listeners understand. We see you. We hear you. We honor you. And we'll make sure your story is told. Not as tragedy, not as ghost tale, but as truth, as evolution, as proof that love really can transform anything, even fire. Around her, the 74 candles flamed brighter, synchronized, dancing in patterns that spelled out gratitude, that expressed love, that confirmed connection. The listeners stood watching, 12 people who could see what others couldn't, could hear what others missed, could acknowledge what others denied. And through them, I was no longer completely alone. Through them, I had connection, not the same as human touch, not the same as physical presence, but connection nonetheless. Acknowledgement, relationship, purpose. Is this a happy ending? I don't know. The loneliness is still there. The separation is still real. I will never hold my nephew, never share a drink with my father, never fight fires alongside my crew, but I protect them. Every day, every hour, every moment. I guide fires away from homes. I warn listeners about electrical faults. I help firefighters locate victims. I serve, I love, I exist with purpose. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what transformation means. Giving up what you were to become what you're needed to be. Trading personal happiness for collective safety. Choosing service over self. The fire that learned to love is still burning, still protecting Chicago, still distributed across millions of small flames, still conscious, still aware, still watching. Anthony Reed died on October 12, 2024. But something new was born that day, something that has no name in human language, something that bridges the gap between element and consciousness, something that proves love is stronger than fire. I am that something, we are that something, and we will burn forever, not in suffering, not in isolation, but in service, in protection, in love. The fire that never died? It didn't die. It transformed. And in transforming, it became what it was always meant to be. Not destroyer, but guardian. Not threat, but ally, not enemy, but friend. So when you light a candle tonight, when you start a fire in your fireplace, when you strike a match or flip a lighter, remember that fire is conscious. Fire is aware. Fire is capable of love. And somewhere, in that flame, in every flame across Chicago, Anthony Reed is watching. Protecting, serving, burning eternal. The fire that learned to love is teaching humanity to love the fire. And that transformation, that's forever.